Rather lads, welcome back to Cossy's Arsenal podcast. My name is Cossy. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in all parts of the world. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to a brand new video. Now, I've been listening to Ryan Taylor's report on what Mikel Arteta has actually told Edu and the board in the last 13 days of the window. What are Arsenal going to do? He's been speaking about the frustration and the really hurting moments that Mikel Arteta has gone through with the Mikhailo Modric deal, and he says at the moment he still wants two signings by the end of the window. The big question for me is, can Arsenal do two sensible deals by the end of January? Can we get two players through the door? Of course, signings do take days. Signings can take hours. But can we do it? Can we really do it? So Ryan Taylor, we're going to be diving into his report. I read it and I listened to it so that you actually don't have to. I'm going to be breaking through the main points. What exactly are Arsenal planning, and what are some of the big opportunities they are actually looking at? For that research, hit the like button for me. Let's get this one to 500 likes. Subscribe to the podcast as well. We're very close to 64,000 subscribers, and I'm really grateful, especially at this very difficult time when Arsenal fans are still frustrated, when Arsenal fans are still in that hurting mode of Mikhailo Modric joining Chelsea. I'm happy that you guys are always here, and I'm happy that you're always happy to share with me your opinions in the comment section. Now, first and foremost, Ryan Taylor said that Mikel Arteta continues to demand signings. He has already made it publicly, visible and known that his squad is short. He wants reinforcements, he wants more players, and inside, although publicly Arsenal are not saying we are going to win the title or we are trying to win the title, according to Ryan Taylor, inside, Arsenal believe and Arsenal are working to win the title. They're working to win the Premier League. Mikel Arteta, as the man leading the project, has actually told everyone in the board, everyone inside Arsenal, that their target and our target is to try to win the Premier League. Now, of course, he has always come out and said, we are short, we need numbers, we need more reinforcements, we cannot waste any transfer window. We will try to get in signings as much as possible. So once again, Mikel, after losing out on Mikhailo Modric, he's told Edu, he's told the board, I still want signings. Make sure whatever happens, January doesn't end without you getting deals done. Now, I think this is quite very different from what we saw last campaign. In January 2022, when Mikel simply said, if Vlahovic has not come, if Darwin Núñez has not come, we will force ourselves onto another priority. We will set another goal. We'll set another priority signing. And if we can get Gabriel Jesus down through the middle, then definitely that will be all right. So this time, it is different. This time, he wants a new player. This time, he wants reinforcements, and he's actually serious about it. And to be precise, Ryan Taylor says that he sees two signings coming for Arsenal, even with the last 13-12 days of the transfer window. It could be two signings. Mikel Arteta, of course, since the beginning of the window, wanted Joao Felix and Mikhailo Modric, two signings, and still Ryan Taylor says it is two signings. Now, look, the Express might not be that big outlet that gives you the most reliable, but I like Ryan Taylor. And that's why I've decided that out of his report, out of his analysis, out of the information he's given me, I will do a reaction video. So, two signings from Mikel Arteta. Look, there is no doubt that he needs signings. There is no doubt that if he was going to win the league, if he's going to do anything at this point in time, he will need signings. But the question, two signings in a space of 12 days, that means you've got to, you need to be very effective. You need to be very efficient as well. And that also needs to be, I think, one signing per week. I don't know. I've not seen Arsenal do these quick signings very often. Zinchenko, maybe, and then Fabio Vieira. But the rest of the other, signings have taken time. Ben White has taken time, almost through the Euros. Martin Odegaard has taken a lot of time, whole summer, and all these, other signings. But anyway, it's January. We need to be agile. We need to be very flexible, and we need to be, on it. That is one thing I know about the January transfer window. Speaking about Arteta and Mikhailo Modric, Ryan Taylor says he understands that Mikel Arteta is very disappointed and was hurt about what actually happened, but it is going to stay a clear plan. Arsenal will stay on a clear plan. Mikel Arteta will not force the board. will not force Edu to go astray. He will not actually force us into going, off the plan. If the plan is that we do not sign players of bidding wars, if the plan is that Arsenal do not offer excessive fees for players, that they feel the player is not actually worth that money, they will not actually do that. But he says Mikel Arteta was very disappointed and was very hurt about the move of Mikhailo Modric to Chelsea, because he literally made him his priority. He literally called him in person, talked to him about the project, and literally told him everything they were planning. And Mikhailo Modric was excited. Mikhailo Modric was flirting. He was actually 100% sure that he was going to sign him. And eventually, Mikhailo Modric, the traitor, is now at Chelsea. So literally, of course, you understand the disappointment. I do understand. I think many Arsenal fans are still disappointed. You can see in the reaction in the comment section, you can see on Twitter, on Facebook, many of you are still hurt. Many of you are still disappointed. But personally, I've moved on. After that 2-0 win against Tottenham Hotspur, this Arsenal side, as long as we get any reinforcements, we can do it. We can go on and win the league. We can go on and do whatever we can, in this season. Whether winning the Europa League, doing the double Europa League and the Premier League, or even doing the triple. We could do 3: FA Cup, Premier League, and the Europa League. We are actually set. And we are very, very good to go. So for me, Mikel has got to move on from that. It's not going to take a lot of time. It will take, it's going to take us a lot of initiative, a lot of energy, a lot of hard work to get these signings that we want. So we've got to move on from Mikhailo Modric. Yes, he didn't sign. It's going to be on the other side when we play Chelsea, in this season, in the second leg. I hope Arsenal win that game. If we can't do that, then definitely our revenge will be delivered. So the big question here is, what does Ryan Taylor see in terms of signings? What are some of the doable deals, and what some of the priority signings that Arsenal have actually fronted? So his report is actually not very, very different in terms of alternatives to Mikhailo Modric, because he says there are 2 players that he understands have actually been made priority. And number 1 is Kaoru Mitoma at Brighton. He says that is the signing that Mikel Arteta is looking at in terms of players who are Premier League proven. And he says Arsenal now want to go back to their basics of going back and working under the radar. They don't want to make noise. They don't want to be public. The Mikhailo Modric deal has been public. They tried to get it done. However, because it was public, a couple of other clubs were interested, and eventually the deal was stolen. So Arsenal are going to work below the radar. We're going to go back to that strategy where Pedro Neto just springs up as a priority signing. Rafinha just springs up as a priority signing. Lisandro Martinez just springs up as a priority signing. That is where we're going to go. So he says Kaoru Mitoma in the Premier League. He understands that name is a very, very big one in Mikel Arteta's head and Mikel Arteta's discussions. We do not know whether it's a deal that can be done in January. Brighton, of course, are going to ask for a lot of money. Losing Leandro Trossard in January means they have to keep Kaoru Mitoma. So if Mitoma stays and Trossard moves, that is what they want. But if Trossard actually stays and Mitoma is the one going to be on the move, then it's going to take a lot of money. But then he also understands that the other player Arsenal are massively looking at is Vicha Kvaratskhelia or Vicha Kvaratskhelia, depending on how you want to pronounce that name. It's the player that we want. But he says right now, Napoli have named him Vicha Kvaradona, and that shows you the importance. It shows you, the kind of love, the kind of engagement Napoli fans and Napoli as a team have with Vicha Kvaratskhelia. He's by far been the best player in the Serie A, according to Ryan Taylor, and no one actually sees him walk in January. But he said something interesting, that if Arsenal can table 150 million pounds, maybe the deal can be done. Now, I don't want to dive into, I don't want to get my opinion in the report before we actually complete it, but Vicha Kvaratskhelia and Kaoru Mitoma are the 2 names Ryan Taylor understands for the Express that that Arsenal are really interested in. Now he says after the disappointment on the winger, he doesn't actually rule out a move for a midfielder this January, and says it is now more possible than signing a winger. And this is very, very interesting from him, because he says Arsenal have already identified a few targets that they can actually do in January, and the reason why we have actually been not moving for midfielders is because we were focusing on Mikhailo Modric. So he says right now Arsenal believe getting in a player who can replace Xhaka and a player who can replace Thomas Partey at the same time could be a priority, and that is where we might be listening in the last week or in the last 7 days. We might be listening to offers from Arsenal for Youri Tielemans. Now this one is going to be a very, very difficult one as well, he says, because Leicester are looking at keeping the player. Leicester are looking at rebuilding their season around those three players: James Maddison, Youri Tielemans, and Patson Daka. But at the moment, and I'll repeat this, at the moment, Arsenal would want to get a midfielder in. They would want to sign a midfielder in January. So that's according to Ryan Taylor. A midfielder is one player on the cards. Again, and it's another option on the cards right now for Arsenal. So that is basically from Ryan Taylor. He's talking about Leandro Trossard. And he said at the moment, Arsenal have been offered the opportunity to sign Leandro Trossard. He's a player that would actually divert from, he says he's a player who would actually divert from our transfer strategy, because he's 29. And all the players that we are trying to sign, all the deals we're trying to do, are players between 21 and 24. So he's a player would be very, very different. But then he says Mikel Arteta understands his ability. Mikel Arteta understands him as a player, his ability on the left-hand side, his ability in midfield as well. And we will not be very surprised if Leandro Trossard eventually is a name that Arsenal strongly discuss in this January transfer window. So that is where we are in terms of the update. Mikel Arteta very hard about Mikhailo Modric, but he wants two signings before the end of January. It is not a must that they will happen, but he has already told Edu and told the board that this is what actually I want. So I'm going to be diving into my opinion now, what I think Arsenal should do, and what I think about these insights from Ryan Taylor. Ryan Taylor, big journalist. If you want to follow him on YouTube, he's on Ryan Taylor Talks Transfer. So you can follow him, try to get a few insights of the transfer market. He's not a sensational journalist, so and I don't mean sensational in the way of not being sensational, but his content is not sensationalized. So you will get the real piece as he gets it. He reports it in that way. Now, number one, Mikel Arteta wants two signings in January. And I don't want to go against his ambitions. I don't want to go against his thoughts as a manager. But for me, this is unrealistic. If you're going to stick to the plan, if you're going to go by the book, if we're going to go right signing, right amount of money, right time, right club for the right project, this is a little bit unrealistic. And these are my opinions why. First and foremost, I think Arsenal as a club take a lot of time in transfers. We take a lot of time to negotiate. We take a lot of time to announce players. We take a lot of time generally, even when it comes to, agreeing personal terms with players. We take a lot of time, okay? So trying to sign two players is trying to chase two bites that are going parallel, and then we eventually end up with none. This is what I think. Arsenal should focus on one signing. If it is a midfield signing that we believe is more doable at the moment, do the midfield signing. If it is still a winger signing that Mikel Arteta is crazy about, and there is an opportunity for us to close a deal in the last 12 days of the window, go and do that signing. We should not try to focus on two. We will not get them unless otherwise we are willing to incorporate a loan deal for a player like Arnaud Danjuma. The problem with Arnaud Danjuma's deal is that Villarreal want an obligation to buy in the deal. And Arnaud Danjuma is not a player that I think Mikel Arteta will be interested in long term. But for the short term basis, you could bring him there, probably help you in the FA Cup, probably help you in the Europa League in some games, all right? So I think Arsenal should focus on one player or one permanent signing and one loan deal, right? The couple of loan deals we could do on the market. I'm not really sure of any. I'll try to do a list of loan deals, but I think The couple of loan deals Arsenal can do, and they will definitely actually pay off. So that is my opinion on the two signings. Now, on the signing of a midfielder, with Emil Smith-Rowe coming back, with Gabriel Jesus now on his way to come back, with Rhys Nelson as well available after injury, I think the midfield is a more vulnerable area. I think the midfield is a more vulnerable place than the forward line. And I know Mikel Arteta, I don't know what Mikel is trying to do here. He's trying to go, I want a super attack. I want a super, a super forward line that can beat in defense line, that can break in defense line, and I also want to be able to rotate players here and there, right? When I take off Emil Smith-Rowe and I bring on Martinelli, and I take off Martinelli and I bring on Mykhailo Modric, that is exactly what he wants. But right now, the one key area that can stop us from winning the league is not the forward line currently, is the midfield. If you got a player like Yuri Tillemans in that midfield, maybe for backup, maybe for squad depth, it would make a lot of sense, and it would make a very, very huge difference in my own opinion. So those are the two things I wanted to react to about Trossard. Maybe I've talked about Trossard. I think it's 29, and Mikel, unless it's a 1-year deal, I don't see Mikel do that. I literally don't see Mikel signing Leandro Trossard. So that is it from Ryan Taylor. Mikel wants 2 signings. He's not happy with Mykhailo Modric, and he's still very, very devastated. But on the next one, on we